This is it. You've invested in the Inspirational Speakers video training course. You've built your message. You're ready to deliver. You've got all your bookshelf full of bookends. You've got your stories. You've got your messaging. You've got your key points. And now it's time for the rubber to meet the road. You've got your first speaking gig, but you're scared. You're scared that once you step on stage, you're not going to remember all the hard work you've put into delivering this amazing presentation, your life's work. I'm Rob Zabersky, and I've got great news for you. This is not going to be your reality because in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use your memory the way it's designed to be used so that you can commit any piece of information in memory, specifically your presentation, to make sure that when you walk off stage, every single person is a better person having been in that room with you. Okay, so let's talk about different presentation styles. In the memory training programs that we teach, there's three main methodologies that most people try to use to deliver an effective presentation. They're either trying to memorize their entire speech word for word, they're trying to use notes or note cards or PowerPoint as a bit of a crutch, or they've decided they're just going to wing it. Now, so we're talking about the idea of delivering impactful, professional level presentations. So we're just not going to spend any time focusing on the wing it approach, right? Some people, you've probably gotten lucky at some point in your career winging it. That's not the best way to do it. So let's talk about the problems with those two other methodologies. So if you commit your speech or your presentation to memory, what that means is you've handwritten every single word that you want to say. And you've memorized that thing, and you've spent hours upon hours reading it and rereading it and rereading it. And you have an idea in your head for how you want that presentation to go. But it's been my experience to observe that when people commit a presentation to memory, it often is delivered robotically as opposed to creating a connection. Now, I know I over-embellished it there, but that's really what's going on. You have a pace, you have inflection in your head that you think is the right thing to do, but then you get into the reality of that scenario. You get on stage, you get in front of those people, the spotlight's coming right on your face, and it just doesn't come across like that. Here's a trick. If you've ever been to a presentation where the speaker says, "No questions till the end," it's because they've committed that entire presentation to memory, because that's the other problem with trying to commit something to memory. If you've memorized every single word and your pace and your inflection, what happens is if something happens, if something goes wrong, if a question gets raised, if there's an interruption and you lose your spot, you stand there and you're really uncomfortable as you rack your brain trying to find where you can pick back up. So committing a speech to memory that way, rote memorization, it's not the best way to do it. So let's talk about the other methodology, using notes or note cards or PowerPoint, right? I call that a crutch. Listen, it's all well and good, and I know specifically in the dental world, there's a lot of value in having amazing AV that goes along with your presentation. It's always my lowest grade when I'm evaluated when I speak for groups. Reason is I've used my memory, I've committed my presentations to memory, and I want to do it in a connected way, in an authentic way. That's the challenge with reading off of notes or note cards, is if you're down here reading your presentation or reading your notes or reading your bullet points, you're not connecting with your audience. Also, if you are looking back at your PowerPoint while presenting, this is not the best view that people want to have of you. They want to see your face. They want to see your expressions. They want to see your nonverbals and how effectively you can communicate and connect with that audience. And then also, if you're called upon to speak, if you're hired or invited to speak, it's kind of assumed that you are an expert in that category. Well, if you're looking down at your notes, checking your notes, or looking back at your PowerPoint the whole time, that flies in the face of that concept of being known as an expert in your category. So those three methodologies I would encourage you to avoid with regards to delivering your presentation. Now, that being said, I got a little secret for you. You can use your memory the way it's designed to be used in order to commit your notes to memory, and you're effectively using notes. They're just in your brain instead of in front of you. So I want to talk about your memory. The thing I want you to understand is that the language of your memory is pictures. What that means is your memory thinks in pictures. Here's a demonstration or example that I use all the time with people is I want you to I want you to describe 50 things in your living room to me. Now, if you're a normal functioning human being, the first thing you would do is you would visualize or you would picture your living room in your head. And then you would kind of mentally walk around your living room. And at that point, you could probably pick out the 50, 60, maybe even 70 things that are in your living room because you know that you've got a picture of those in your mind. That is how your memory works. You need to have a really great, impeccable picture for any piece of information that you want to recall. So there's a system we teach called the mental file folder system, and I'm going to dive in and start to teach it to you today. The key to the thing to understand about your memory is your memory is perfect, right? Anything you read, anything you've seen on TV, any class you've taken, every book you've read, movie you've seen, person you've met, conversation you've been a part of, it's all up in your brain, right? It's just kind of floating around. The challenge is accessing it when you need it. So when you understand how to systematize your memory and create a system around committing anything to memory, your life gets a lot easier, your stress levels go way down, and your ability to present effectively goes way up. So the keys to the castle, when it comes to remembering anything, there's only 3 moving parts. There's a file, there's an image, and there's glue. So because the language of your memory is pictures, I'm going to walk you through an exercise right now to ensure that you always remember the keys to the memory training castle. So what I want you to do is I want you to hold your hand out in front of you like this, and I want you to picture a fig in your hand. If you don't know what a fig looks like, you can use a fig Newton. It does the same thing for this exercise. All right, so I want you to look at that and say fig. Fig, fig. Fig stands for file, image, glue. I want you to see it. What color is your fig? Is it purple? Is it brown if you're using the Newton? All right, I want you to squish that fig up. Feel the grainy, feel how sticky it is when you smash it up in your finger. Take a whiff. All right, it smells figgy, right? Fig, file, image, glue is the key to remembering anything. If I were to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, what's the key to the mental file folder system? You'd say, fig, it's fig. Who is this? Why are you calling? That is how much I want you to understand what fig is. So the F in fig stands for file. All that is a place for you to store information. It's something you can see in front of you or in your mind. It's just a place for you to store information. I stands for image, or a picture of the piece of information that you want to remember. And then the G is just glue. Glue is nothing more than action and emotion that you use to stick the picture or the image into the file. The cool part about glue is you've been using it your entire life, right? Here's what I mean. Think back to something that happened to you as a child that you can still remember clear as day like it happened yesterday. Right? I'm imagining when I ask that question of groups of people, I usually get answers like, I fell off my bike, or I got stung by a bee, or I got hit by a car, right? These are all things that have a lot of action and emotion tied to them. The more visceral the action and emotion, the stickier that picture is, and it stays in the file, and you can recall it faster and for a longer term. So that's the key to understanding your memory. Your memory thinks in pictures, and file, image, glue is the keys to remembering anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you your first filing system that you can use as a place to store information, specifically the key points or notes that you want to memorize for your presentation. So what I teach people all the time, something we said what makes for a good file is anything you can see in front of you or in your mind. Something that you can see all the time that's in front of you is your body. Your body makes for a really effective filing system. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you 10 places on your body that you can use as files, as places to store information, and then we're going to practice gluing information, and then I'm going to show you how to use this to commit all of your presentations to memory. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with file number 1, and we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to move our way up. So file number 1 is going to be your soles. So if you're watching this video, just stand up and tap your soles. If you're watching this while driving, that's not a good idea. At some point, tap your soles and say soles. Number 2 is going to be your shins. So tap your shins and say shins. Your third file, you're going to tap your legs right here and say legs. Your fourth file is going to be your butt. I want you to tap your butt and say butt. Hopefully you're watching this video alone and it's not weird. Your fifth file is going to be your tummy. Tap your tummy and say tummy. Your sixth file is going to be your ribs. You can scratch your ribs like a monkey and say ribs. 7 is your collarbone. 8 is your mouth. 9 is your nose, and 10 is your forehead. So to recap, moving backwards, 10 is your forehead, 9 is your nose, 8 is your mouth, 7 is your collarbone, 6 is your ribs, 5 is your tummy, 4 is your butt, 3 is your legs, 2 is your shins, and number 1 is going to be your soles. So there it is, 10 places on your body that you can use as files. A couple cool things about this. Number 1, I just gave you a list of 10 places to store information, which means that you can now commit at least 10 points of information to memory. Well, what happens if you lose your place? Well, the beauty of the body file system is you've got natural anchors at the bottom, middle, and top of your body. So what that means is you always know that file number 1 is down on your soles. You always know that file number 5 is on your tummy, and you always know that file number 10 is on your forehead. So if you ever get lost in the middle of the presentation, just figure out where you're at on your body and move either forward or backwards from the 1, 5, or 10 position. Okay, this is all well and good. You've got 10 places to store information. Now, let's understand what it means to use action and emotion to glue some information to those files. So we're going to practice with 7 pieces of information for this demonstration. So we always start a list with file number 1. So file number 1 was our soles. On your sole, what I want you to do is I want you to picture stepping on somebody's mouth. Like there's actually a speaker, there's a professional speaker. Use me if you like to. Picture I'm laying on the ground and you're stepping on my mouth and my teeth are cutting into the soles of your feet. That's what we mean by that action and emotion, that visceral action and emotion. Right? Feel those teeth cutting into your soul. See the blood pouring out. Right? So you're stepping on as a speaker, you're stepping on my mouth and those teeth are cutting into your soles. Okay. Number 2, on your shins, I want you to take a 3x5 note card and I want you to just start slicing 3 slices, 1, 2, 3, right into your shins. Slice them right open. See the bone sticking out. See the skin peeling back, right? Again, I know it's gross and it's weird. It's only weird if it doesn't work. You're going to see really quick how it works. So on your shins, you've got 3 big slashes with that 3x5 note card. That's what's going on your shins. On your legs, I want you to take, do you remember the memory game? They were the little 2x2 square cards and you'd shuffle them up and you'd put them in like a system, like a stack of 9, and they had different information and you had to match them up and you had to remember which ones were which, right? So what I want you to do is on your legs, I want you to picture shuffling those little 2x2 card memory cards. So you're shuffling up those memory games and you're putting those squares all over your legs. So on your legs, you've got the memory game, okay? Your 4th file is your butt. On your butt, I want you to picture that there's a filing cabinet full of figs, and you sit down and you turn around rather, and you're just using the drawer and you're slamming that filing cabinet into your butt, and all those figs are smashing up against your butt and you're pinching and it really hurts and you're just smashing over and over and over. You're smashing that filing cabinet full of figs right into your butt. On your 5th file, which is your tummy, I want you to imagine a bunch of skeletons dancing around. All right, so on your tummy, you've got skeletons dancing all over, just dancing up and down, bouncing around, doing the do-si-do. On your tummy, you've got skeletons. Now, if you were to get lost, you could work backwards. Say, on my tummy, I've got skeletons. And on my butt, I've got that filing cabinet full of figs. And on my legs, I've got the memory game. And on my shins, I've got the 3 slashes from the note card. And on my soles, I'm stepping on Rob's mouth, and those teeth are cutting into me. All right, so that's 5. 6, let's go back to it. Now, on 6th file is our ribs. All right, what I want you to imagine is I want you to imagine one of those big giant wrecking balls coming in and just demolishing your ribs. It hits you so hard, your ribs all break, and you've got this big giant wrecking ball crushing you right in the ribs. Feel how hard it is to breathe when that happened. Right? This is the visceral action and emotion. And then finally, on our collarbone, I want you to take a bunch of clothespins, right? If you have if you have a clothesline out in the backyard, just take the clothespins off, and I want you to picture you got those clothespins just pinched all onto your collarbone. All right, so there we have 7. This is what it means to glue information to those files. So let's review, and we can do this in and out of order. We'll do it reverse, and then I'll quiz you, and you just see if you can answer this. So on our collarbone, number 7 was the clothespins, right? On our ribs, number 6 was the wrecking ball, right? On our tummy, number 5, that was the skeletons dancing. On our butt, number 4, that was the filing cabinet full of figs that was smashing into our butt. right? On our legs, we had the memory game that was being shuffled up and dealt out. Right? On our shins, we had the 3 cuts, ching, 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 from the 3x5 note card. You were slashing yourself in the shin. And then finally, on your soles, you were stepping on my face and my teeth were cutting into your soles. So let's review. If I said, where might I find skeletons, you might say, yeah, on your tummy. And then where would I find 3 gashes from a note card? Yeah, that's on your shins. And then what was on your collarbone? Yeah, that's the clothespins. And then do you remember what was on your legs? Yeah, it was the memory game and those cards being shuffled up and handed out and drawn out, right? So that's what it means. You want to review this. Now, that's what it means to use FIG, file image glue, to store information on your body. All well and good. You're probably watching this video laughing a little bit, but I'm going to get real with you. It works. This is the methodology that I used to commit this video to memory to teach you what I just did. So check this out. If you go back and watch this video again, you're going to know that the first thing we talked about was the pain of being hired as a speaker and not remembering all those key points and information that you wanted to effectively communicate when you've been asked to speak. Right? I told you I want you to feel how much it hurts to step on those teeth and feel them cutting into your soles. Right? And then from there, we talked about the 3 different ways that most people deliver presentations. So what I did is I had a note card and I made 3 slashes in your shins. I talked about the 3 slashes in my shins to talk about the 3 different ways that don't work to deliver presentations. Then we moved to the legs. And what I did is I told you about your memory. I talked about the language of your memory being pictures. So I had that memory game glued to my legs to know that that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. All right, then I taught you the mental file folder system and FIG, and I did that by smashing that filing cabinet full of FIGs into my butt. Then I taught you the body files. So I had skeletons dancing on my tummy to remind me that I need to talk about body files. Right? Then, right now, we're at my ribs. I'm doing a demonstration, a demo of how I use this skill set to commit all the points of this video to memory. So we've got that big wrecking ball doing demo work on my ribs. And guess what's coming up next? Now we're transitioning onto my collarbone where we're going to close out this video. And I'm going to say to you that I hope that this makes sense. And I hope that you can get over the fact that it's a little weird. Because I'm imagining that if you're okay with it being a little bit weird in your brain, that means you're really okay with using this as a tool and a skill to ensure that every presentation is delivered confidently. You know exactly what you're talking about. You're communicating both verbally and non-verbally exactly what you want to. And that every single member of that audience is a better, more effective person for having spent time in a room with you. I'm Rob Zabersky. If you need help, please reach out to me on this. Otherwise, have so much fun with your memory, and I can't wait to see you crush it from stage.